Welcome to SportsBeat KC, the Kansas City Star Sports Podcast. We are talking Kansas City Chiefs with the people in the sports media that know them best. I think this is the best podcast going. I think. What do I know? It could be. I don't know. It's a good podcast, though.
I think we should just title it that, label that, the best podcast going. And people will know what we're talking about.
Yes. Chiefs, by the way. That's what we're talking about. We're talking about Chiefs with Vahe Gregorian, Sam McDowell, and Jesse Newell. They all cover the Kansas City Chiefs. And, fellas, we are heading to the Super Bowl for the third straight year, for the fifth time in 6 years, although I think, Vahe, from this group, only you and I went to the one in Tampa, the loss. So Jesse and Sam have not seen the Chiefs lose a Super Bowl in person. So we will ask them later in the show if that streak will continue. I have my doubts, but we'll get to that later. I want to spend time talking about the AFC Championship Game, 32-29 over the Buffalo Bills. What's the streak up to now? Chiefs' consecutive victories in one-score games?
17 straight wins in one-score games. There's been so many concentrated this year, and at the end of last year, I'm not sure when it exactly started. I don't know what the last one of those was. It wasn't the Raiders' loss on Christmas in 2023, was it?
Well, yeah, that was the last time they lost a one-score game.
Yes. So that makes the streak that. So it's 17 wins this season.
Well, one-score games.
Counting. No, I'm just talking about in overall. They've won 23 of the last 24 full varsity games, correct? If you throw out the Broncos game. So that means 17 of those were one score.
What are the mathematical probabilities of winning 17 straight games by one score or less? That's 8 points or fewer. How would you determine that?
I'm sorry. Of them winning 17 in a row when they are in a one-score game?
Yes.
Not good. Now, listen, you probably start with the math of, like, how good is Andy Reid? How good are the Chiefs? You know, they're going to win. It's sort of – this used to be a Bill Self stat, too, with Kansas, where, like, they always won their close games within 5 or less. You'd count it. But it's like, well, that's also because they win 85% of their games overall. You know what I mean? So you kind of have to start with that math of it. But every once in a while you should lose it because – Denver's lining up for a field goal, and it's 34 yards away or whatever, and usually those are made at 95%. I know both Sam and Vahe have written about the probability of things like that should just basically go against your way every once in a while. But this is a telling stat, and I know, Vahe, you wrote about it in your column, where there's a certain point where you just can't shrug your shoulders and say the Chiefs are lucky. They have a belief in themselves. They are convicted in what they do, and they also believe in each other and the coaching staff in a different way than I think a lot of other NFL teams do in those sort of crunch time moments. So I'm not ready to write it off completely. Have they gotten some good fortune there? Absolutely. But to have a stat like that, for one, you're a good team with a good coach, and for two, I think it does take some belief in yourself and in others that potentially other teams out there do not have as much as the Chiefs do.
It came up in the end of the game with how you see other teams handle these situations. I mean, the Bills got the ball with 3.5 minutes left. Like, this game was in their hands. Down three. This game was in their hands to win. It's really the first time when you look at the Chiefs-Bills playoff history to where Josh Allen can determine the outcome of the game. I mean, when they lose with the 13-second game 3 years ago, he does everything he can. He gives them the lead with 13 seconds. Last year, he puts them in position to kick a game-tying field goal. They miss a chip shot field goal to tie the game. This is the first time where it's just said, you've got a chance to go win the game here. And the execution, I thought, was off, but also I just thought the strategy was off in the game. When you look back at the reason the Bills were in the game, they took Josh Allen out of the game and said, we're just going to run the ball with James Cook. And it was incredibly effective. They ran the ball 15 out of 16 plays in the third quarter. They take the lead twice in the game. With 3.5 minutes left, they have 3 timeouts and the 2-minute warning. They basically decided it was a 2-minute drill. It shouldn't have been. Like, they dropped back 4 straight times, and that they only totaled 5 yards on those plays. And Jesse detailed the reason for the last one to screw up with Spags' blitz. But I just thought it was a team that looked like they hadn't been in that sort of situation before because, frankly, they haven't been in that situation a lot in the playoffs before.
I think you look at all these examples, Sam, and you see where the preparation comes through in these huge moments for the Chiefs. I think about the coin toss last year before overtime and how convicted the Chiefs were to basically say, oh my God, they're taking the football, you know, like, or you know, they're not doing this right. But we've talked about this, and we know we're right. We talked to Andy Reid this week about the 3rd and 9 play that they clinched it with Samaje Perine in the backfield. He said the Bills took the timeout, they got to the sideline, but he's talking. Matt Nagy starts talking about this on Tuesday. What are they going to have at the top of their call sheet? Then he talks about Mahomes, and those guys have meetings like, hey, game on the line, 3rd and long. What are we going to go with? And they get themselves on the sideline. They say, hey, we know what we're going to do. Just remember your assignment. And they execute perfectly, and they win the game. And so to Sam's point, there is some of this that is like, this is not luck. It's not fortune. It's preparation. And the Chiefs, I think, more of an edge than anybody else out there in the NFL is not only that their players believe in the preparation of their coaches and what they do, but they believe in those moments because these guys have been through it before and they've shown themselves successful in these moments. So I think there's a big advantage to be had because of Andy Reid and the staff and what they're able to do in week before you get to those crunch moments.
I'm probably going to say the same thing Jesse said, maybe just with a little different slant on it, which is that, there's a sophistication, I think we've really come to see this over time, a sophistication of the way the Chiefs are prepared that is illuminated up against the way other teams deal with these situations. And combined with some kind of, I don't know what you want to call it, but intuitive, resilient psychological advantage in postseason after all these episodes in the postseason. And this all ties into the 17 games. It certainly ties into the 9-game playoff winning streak, and it comes up time and again in what Sam just said about Josh Allen. One of the great examples, and Sam got into this, I think, in the moment writing about this after that the Ravens win for the Chiefs. The game could easily have been the Ravens winning, and people want to focus on the toe being out of bounds. Was it Zay Flowers? Isaiah Likely. But the real thing that happened there was that Lamar Jackson overthrew open receivers on the 2 plays before that. So time and again we see this. We see the Chiefs rising to the moment and other teams essentially shrinking, and or not having that extra oomph that the Chiefs have as absolutely part of their arsenal in the postseason.
I want to go back to something Sam said. The Bills' 3rd quarter, Chiefs had a 21-10 lead, and I thought we're in pretty good shape. And they didn't take advantage of having possession, the first possession of the 3rd quarter, and punt it back. And the Bills go touchdown to take a 22-21 lead. They went for 2 on both occasions. And you talk about being prepared and maybe discussing, eventualities. And maybe you guys can convince me that going for 2 after the first touchdown was the right move. But they chased points, and the Chiefs, didn't. And Chiefs ended up winning this game by 3.
Yeah, I mean, you've got a better than 50-50 shot of converting a regular 2-point conversion. It's why you see teams when they're down 14 go for 2 after they score a touchdown to have a chance to cut it to 6, because if it's back at 8, then you get another shot at it to tie the game. If you get it, then you're going to win a game with a touchdown. So statistically, it helps you in that scenario anyway. But they also got the ball half the distance.
That's right. I should have said on the first one.
Yes,
they did kick the extra point,
and then they make it. But that's part of the calculus too. Is the 1 point's guaranteed in that situation? Like, you've already made it. I would have gone for 2 just because I think the odds are in your favor, and this was an extremely small sample size. And one of the other reasons I think, if you're going to use the small sample size, that the small sample size proved is like the Chiefs got one,
right?
And so that proves that there is a reason to go for this, is because teams often get these situations. But yeah, I mean, there's no field goals in this game. The teams trade 4 touchdowns, and it's funny that Justin Reid going off sides gave the Chiefs 3 points. That's as it turns out, he's trying to block one from happening, and he blocks it in a different way. And then the Bills obviously, but I didn't have any problem with the ones I did go for.
It's all going back to the original point, though. Why do the Bills feel confident on going for it on the 2-point conversion? Because this quarterback sneak with the quarterback they've got and the offensive line they've got has worked all year. Why didn't it work against the Chiefs? And Tony Romo and Jim Nantz pointed this out in the broadcast. It's because every time that they do this tush push, Josh Allen loves to go to his left guard. The Chiefs knew it. They knew it was coming. They stopped him 3 different times on quarterback sneaks, all crucial plays in the game when other teams could not stop them. So again, we're talking about the same thing over and over, which is like when other teams fail in these situations, the Chiefs, for some reason, however they do it, have themselves prepared to succeed in a way that other teams aren't. So I don't blame the Bills for thinking they could succeed like they have for the rest of the regular season, like they have for the rest of the postseason. But again, this is where the Chiefs one-up people, and they one-upped them again in this scenario because this unstoppable play with a quarterback who's built like a fullback or a linebacker, an offensive line that's dominated all year and dominated the run game against the Chiefs, it didn't work. And it didn't work because obviously the Chiefs were ready for it.
Related to all of this is the other, to me, ridiculous set of numbers that came out of this, and that's Patrick Mahomes in the fourth quarter of playoff games. I don't have the numbers in front of me. I just know it's ridiculous.
Is it the fourth quarter raw number or the one stat? I think I remember this one properly. That 11 times in the fourth quarter the Chiefs have been down either a touchdown or a field goal, and 11 times he's driven them back to either tie it or take the lead.
Right. They didn't always win the game.
They didn't always win the game because they lost the overtime games.
Right.
But I think that's one of the numbers that stands out to me. I don't know if it's the same one you mean.
And I think just based on the on the Andy Reid teleconference on Monday, it was our friend Pete Sweeney who brought up the number to Andy Reid that Mahomes is over 500 in those. Mahomes teams are over 500 in those situations. Nobody else in the NFL is at 400 winning percent. So, what else can you say? What else can you say about Patrick Mahomes?
The thing that the 17-3 postseason record with Patrick Mahomes is part of just what's so staggering about this, right? You tie that into the 7 straight conference championship games after they never hosted one at Arrowhead Stadium before. Now it's been 6 in the last 7 years there. And it's open field between Tom Brady and Patrick Mahomes now, or more properly, open field ahead for Patrick. Mm-hmm. The only thing out there is Tom Brady at 35. And all these things add up to, if the Chiefs win this Super Bowl, they're going to be tied with the Cowboys and 49ers for the second most Super Bowl wins ever with 5. And then just one behind the Steelers and Patriots with 6. Ever. After not going to one for 50 years.
Mahomes in the fourth quarter, playoff games and overtime. Fourth quarter and overtime, because obviously he had overtime in last year's Super Bowl. 108.9 passer rating, 14 touchdowns, 3 interceptions.
Which is, by the way, consistent with his entire postseason quarterback rating, which I can't remember if he surpassed Baker Mayfield's number.
I think he did. I think he's back
over,
back at the top.
But nobody, not Tom Brady, has had that quarterback rating in the postseason.
No, Brady's postseason numbers
like
are
8th,
actually
right?
not that great.
He played too many games.
Yeah,
too many games to have a good number.
Well, Sam, you wrote about this, but it was his best game of the season. And he didn't play that well against Houston. I don't think he did the previous week.
Yeah.
And then so I'm doing the prediction, and you're just like, I'm thinking, God, he didn't play that well last week. They got the left tackle issues. But then you still just write in the prediction, how do you bet against this guy in this game? And all of a sudden, by EPA, he was 20 points, positive 20, positive 21 for the Chiefs, and he hadn't been above 12 or 13 all year. I mean, this was far and away his best game of the year at the most critical time, and it's almost something you expect,
Look, the other quarterbacks that have thrown the most passes in the postseason, so Brady's obviously thrown, almost double what anyone. His career rating in the fourth quarter overtime, 82. Peyton Manning's 78 in the playoffs in fourth quarter overtime. Ben Roethlisberger, 92. Drew Brees, 94. Aaron Rodgers, 96. And you have Mahomes at 108.9. Brett Favre, 57.9. McNabb, 87. Joe Flacco, who won an MVP, 68. These are all the top attempts, most attempts in the fourth quarter among playoff guys in their career. And the only one in his neighborhood is you go down to Kurt Warner, and it was 125. Mm-hmm. So Kurt Warner was terrific, had this same sort of, fourth quarter overtime magic, but they're the only guys that, above 100 who threw at least 87 passes in the fourth quarter postseason.
How many postseason games did Kurt Warner play?
Yeah, I don't know.
15 or so.
Is it that many?
Just thinking.
I mean, we know
Cardinals
Mahomes is
too.
at 20, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
9-4 in the postseason.
So 13. That's a good amount. That's and look, he's a Hall of Famer, right? And deservedly so.
Yeah. That's the thing. The other thing too. I mean, Mahomes has already outshone virtually every quarterback that's in the Hall of Fame in terms of postseason alone.
Mm-hmm. No, he has. You're right.
I mean, that's.
You're right.
Get your arms around that.
Right. A Super Bowl win would give him 4, and only Brady would have more.
Yeah.
Montana and Bradshaw each have 4.
But it's also because of him. Like, Tom Brady won Super Bowls, all the credit to him in a lot of different ways. I mean, they had top 5 defenses that won Super Bowls, and the Chiefs had a terrific defense last year, but still it comes down to Patrick Mahomes needing to tie the game on the last drive of the game in regulation and then go win the game in overtime was scoring a touchdown. Like, they win these games because of him, which does speak to, and Jesse mentioned, I wrote about it in today's Kansas City Star, like, there was a difference in quarterbacks in this game. Like, this was the guy who's going to win the MVP. He'll be in New Orleans probably accepting an MVP award.
After he goes to Orlando to play in the Pro Bowl games.
Yeah, as Patrick Mahomes plays 3 days later in the actual game in New Orleans. And Josh Allen, by some measures, had his worst game of the year and the biggest game of his life. And there's a real discussion, I think, to have whether or not anyone who thinks that Andy Reid saved stuff in the regular season got all the evidence they needed, I thought, in the AFC Championship game, because there were plays that there were comments coming from the Bills locker room yesterday, the day after they get back to Buffalo, to where they were seeing stuff they hadn't seen on film all year. I know Jesse and Brett had covered one of them that Matt Nagy had talked to me also about in the locker room after the game, which is the Kareem Hunt touchdown. And then Patrick Mahomes, for the first time all year, decides to keep that exact same option play and run behind Travis Kelce for a touchdown. And afterwards, when we asked him about it, he specifically said, it's the playoffs. Like, I'm going to keep this ball because it's the playoffs. And I don't know how many other teams can just flirt and mess around in the regular season, still go 15-1, still have the confidence that they're going to figure it out in the playoffs and they can actually hold stuff back. I mean, the Bills certainly didn't hold anything back in that Week 11 regular season matchup against the Chiefs.
Yeah.
It's fascinating to look back. I actually looked back, Sam, and I went in Sports Info Solution and looked for 2 pullers for the Chiefs with 2 tight ends on the field, which is the play you're talking about. Kareem Hunt scored on it in the first quarter. Patrick Mahomes pulled it back and scored on it in the second half with that run. The Chiefs had run 2 pullers, 2 tight ends 7 times all year, but actually only run count out of it once. They ran it Week 9 against the Bucs, but it's out of a different formation. So again, this is sort of the genius behind the curtain of what the Chiefs did. Like, the first time they ran it, it gained a couple yards, but not as effective because they had the tight ends both on the left side. They didn't have that diamond formation that you saw in the game. And then actually in overtime, what's interesting is Patrick Mahomes did pull it when that defensive end crashed down in overtime against the Bucs, except the Chiefs had an RPO pass called to that side. So when he started to run, there was already a defender there. So again, the Chiefs go back to the lab. They say, okay, what worked about this? What didn't work about this? And so they didn't see that diamond formation all year. That was something the Chiefs pulled out. But they said, well, we like this aspect of it. We don't like this aspect of it. And when Patrick Mahomes did pull that ball, he had nowhere to go. Let's do this with it. Let's not put a run on that side. Let's put guys that go block on that side. And so, again, it is sort of a peek into this Chiefs coaching staff. For whatever reason, they can't get hired anywhere. Like, they just stay in Kansas City and keep winning Super Bowls. But this is what continuity does for you, is that you have a veteran coaching staff, Andy Heck, who runs the offensive line and the run game. You go back to something like this and you tweak it and you look at it and how can you disguise it and you pull it out in the biggest moment. And the Chiefs were ready, and obviously that one play got them 2 touchdowns. So it came out at the very perfect time.
Well, the coordinators have had head coaching jobs in their careers, right? Matt Nagy with the Bears and Steve Spagnuolo with the Rams, and then interim with the Giants. So they're having, I guess, a difficult time getting rehired as head coaches, as they're never the hot item right after the regular season.
I think that could change for Matt Nagy. I mean, Steve Spagnuolo, I think his age is working against him.
He's 65.
And, I mean, you look at his career record, he's, like 11-40?
Right. It's
like
bad.
that. Like, the career, like, Matt Nagy, I think, is going to be looked on differently. Going to the playoffs with Mitch Trubisky looks like more of an accomplishment than it did when you have a top 5 quarterback. I think was the label around Mitch Trubisky was he's a top 5 quarterback. Now it's that he's a backup quarterback. And so retroactively, I think his stint will look better. He's younger, and I do think some of the stuff that pops up in the playoffs is going to show up more to teams to where he's going to get another opportunity at some point, whether or not it's here as Andy Reid's successor eventually, or whether or not it is another opportunity somewhere else. He'll get another shot, though.
Steve Spagnuolo probably won't.
Yeah,
probably. But speaking of play calls, let's talk about the fourth down. 4th and 5. Where were the Bills? Were they at the 40 or the
47?
47.
Yeah. Still their side, yeah.
Yep. But plenty of time left to get at least a game-tying field goal. And the way Josh Allen can, fling it, get in the end zone, right? Plenty of time. They had to use their timeouts, but there was a minute and a half. I think it was 1:35 when the play ended. But
it was right after the 2-minute warning because they had timeout to talk about it.
Okay. Heck of a call by Spagnuolo, and what I had heard after the game was the Bills had shifted their protection one way, and because of something the Chiefs were showing, but they didn't expect the blitz to come from where it came.
Yeah.
And then Reed and McDuffie came on the blitz and forced the air and throw.
I want to let Jesse get into this because he broke it down.
Yep.
But just to set this up first, all the data says don't blitz Josh Allen at all. I mean, he's the third best quarterback in the league against the blitz. His passer rating's 115. So to set this up, Steve Spagnuolo, though, doesn't just decide whether to blitz. He decides how. How can I prevent him from knowing where it's coming from? And that's what Jesse got into in his post-game story.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of different angles on this, but obviously all the defensive players are excited about the play call, excited about going after him. But I thought the most interesting thing, so I grabbed Steve Spagnuolo real quick in the locker room and just asked him about the blitz and kind of any details that were interesting about it. And he said, with that particular play call, I don't know who's blitzing from the cornerback spot. It depends on the Bills' formation.
I was fascinated by that.
Okay.
It's not his call.
It depends on how they line up and who it is. And so he said, but I'm sure glad it was Trent McDuffie because obviously that's been their best blitzer for a long time. I went over to Trent, and he was kind of interesting about it too because he goes, I was really wanting to be the blitzer. And then I got out there and decided I was going to be the blitzer. So basically he decided, I'm blitzing this spot. I'm going to line up in the spot I need to be the blitzer.
And Trent McDuffie does have priority over the other cornerbacks just on non-blitz situations too.
Exactly. So he decided, I'm going to blitz on this particular one. But to your point, Blair, you've seen some things from the Bills here where they said the Chiefs faked a blitz like this all game, and they didn't bring it. So they thought, okay, they're faking the blitz again. They're not going to bring it.
7 or 8 in the cover.
But this is just such the cohesiveness of this team, which is, you talked about, they slide the protection always to Chris Jones. So no blitz is coming, going to slide the protection towards Chris Jones' side. And because of that, Justin Reed comes unblocked, Trent McDuffie comes unblocked, and we have to give an assist on this particular play to George Karlaftis, who beats his man around the corner. Now those two guys that are unblocked force Josh Allen to George Karlaftis. But sort of fascinating talking to those secondary guys at the end and the back end of the play is that still was more time than you want to give up on a blitz. Like some of those areas they can't cover because of what they're doing. It's like the ball's going to come out quick. You're planning on it to come out quick. So a huge play by Josh Allen to buy time, throw that ball up.
15 yards behind the line of scrimmage by the time he throws it.
Exactly, but he bought the time, and those secondary guys are basically telling me we are not prepared to defend for that amount of time. The ball is supposed to come out quick because you're supposed to get there on the blitz. So it was a great play by Josh Allen. I wonder what our narrative is if Dalton Kincaid comes down with that ball. Because obviously, then you got a minute 50, you're already in field goal range, you got the world at your hands with all the timeouts. So it's crazy how things go, but yes, this is Spags being Spags and sort of fascinating details behind the scenes to know exactly when they timed that thing up, how they timed it up, and how Trent McDuffie got in the spot to be able to disrupt that play.
And it's like the trick in that is to actually show the blitz. Because all game long they have been showing the blitz and then backing off. So when they show blitz, Josh Allen looks and says, they're not coming. Because we've seen this all game when they show blitz. So when you go back and watch it, Justin Reed's the guy who really screws up the play for the Bills by breaking through the line. He's on the line of scrimmage. Like, he's showing that he's coming. But the Bills don't block him because they're like, we've seen you do this all game. This means you're not coming. So they're leveling throughout the game and throughout the season. I mean, there was again from some Bills reporters I had read that said there was an offensive lineman, I can't remember which one, that said we hadn't seen them do that all year on tape, to where they were showing the blitz pre-snap and they actually came with it.
There's some other great details. I know ESPN was kind of pointing this out in their broadcast, but like when the I think of Shakir went in orbit motion.
Yeah.
That down below,
He was-
Shamari Connor was given a signal that we're going to in and out this. We're going to trade these guys off if they switch. They're in zone coverage. That's a total BS thing. Like, he's just messing with them. The other thing they talked about was Trent McDuffie. A lot of times we learned this playing high school baseball. If you face a left-handed pitcher and he's staring at you, we used to call him conventional. Okay, if he's staring at the plate, he's trying to fool you. He's going to first base.
Yeah.
If he's staring right at you, you go steal, because he's trying to fool you. He's going to go to the plate. Well, Trent McDuffie's staring right at Josh Allen, and some of the tells sometimes are like, if he's staring at you, he ain't coming. You know what I mean? Like, he's trying to fool you. Well, Trent just stared at him and then came with the blitz. So there's some of these small details in here that are really fascinating. But something that Trent said in the locker room I do want to point out was, he said a lot of times when he's coming on the blitz, he likes to see, is there a back? Who does he have to get around? Who's the tight end on that side? Complete free reign because they went empty. But then he said, I looked at Josh and his eyes were huge. He knew, basically saying Josh knew something was off here. Like he couldn't figure it out. He couldn't decipher it, but he knew they were about to be in trouble. And so obviously the Chiefs did get to him on that particular play. And so much of the talk here has been accurately that Josh Allen didn't get them to the right protection, which screwed up the play. But again, so much of the credit there goes to Steve Spagnuolo coming up with something at the perfect moment that the Bills could not be or couldn't get themselves prepared for.
Which I think you call timeout in that situation.
Did they have one?
Yeah.
Oh, they had all of them.
3 timeouts.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
The play's too important to it.
There's a lot on the play clock too, right? I think there was a lot of time on the play clock.
Yes, to where if you're confused as a quarterback, there was a lot of time on the play clock because of the motion you mentioned. Though I think they wanted time to snap with the motion, so I don't know that he can go back and reset that situation.
Try to get in clear. Keep coming back.
But there is I think Patrick. It goes back to those in-game situations that you let off with Blair. And these I think Patrick Mahomes just says something's off. I'm burning one of the 3 timeouts here. This play's too important.
And of course, they had all their timeouts because the Chiefs had to complete 2 passes.
And we say all this, and he threw it to the right guy. I mean, he almost completed it.
Did you see the end zone shot?
He's wide open.
Yeah, he's
He
wide
just dropped
open,
it.
and the ball kind of twists. The ball curves a little bit. I think I can see why Dalton Kincaid didn't come up with that. It was
to Vahe's original point. It reminded me of the Kelsey catch from last year against the Ravens, where Mahomes does a little dance, kind of toss it up, and somehow Travis Kelce fully extends, dives, and catches it. The Chiefs just always make those plays, and for whatever reason, the other team, when they really need it, they don't make that play, and Dalton Kincaid didn't make that play even after all that went wrong for the Bills.
I thought the Bills' offense played pretty well throughout the game. I thought Josh Allen, I thought he was good enough to win. I thought he was good enough to finally get his Super Bowl appearance. It'll just have to wait another year. Of course, conversation nationally, and I'm sure in Buffalo, was about the officiating, the 4th and 1 stop that the Chiefs had. That it was an important play. It changed the momentum of the game. Chiefs took over, and Bills had I think that's when the Bills were up 1 with the ball, right?
Yeah.
In the third quarter, and the Chiefs turned around and scored, and ended up seizing control of the game again. It seems like when the Bills and the Chiefs play in the playoffs, NFL rules change. If there's now each team gets a possession in overtime because the Bills didn't get their possession in overtime in the 21 divisional game. But you think there'll be a chip in the ball pretty soon?
So I keep hearing that, and
didn't we hear that at training camp this year?
There is for it can measure the ball in relation to out of bounds. So it was on those punts that sail out of bounds. And what's funny is, and I won't say which referee we had, although I think that whole thing was that part was on the record. He was like, usually it's just like, okay, now the crowd's booing, stop. We're good. What was funny is this chip in the ball thing is obviously overlapped with the Australian Open, which does review ins and outs. But you also have to measure when the player's down. So I don't exactly know how that is going to help. And this play though is about the one where it would have helped you. Because the reason this did not get overturned is you just couldn't see the ball.
You could never see the ball
on any of the camera angles. Like I've just constantly said that I don't think the chip works. On this play, the chip would have worked. It would have told you, I think, whether or not he had gotten the first down.
Here's the problem: is the technology you need unobstructed. Like tennis, you have unobstructed. You know what I'm saying? Like, how do you measure all that stuff?
Overhead, you probably could have. You might have been able to get that. I was surprised.
I've heard
I was surprised we did not have a sky cam view of that play, because all of us were talking about I know, Vahe, you and I were talking about the press box. We thought he got it, but how do you overturn it? You couldn't on any of these angles tell where the ball
I think it's a tough call regardless. And like I said, I mean, the obstructed part of this, when is he down, when is he not down, where's the ball? I mean, you could measure where the ball is at a certain point, but like you're going to have to put all these things together in a very short amount of time. It's sort of like the technology is probably not there yet. But again, that doesn't mean the talk won't continue about it needing to be there.
Yeah, and look, I mean, I don't know. Naturally, we've come to understand that this is the narrative, right? Talking about the officiating. That play, to me, is sort of in this subcategory of it all, which is there are just going to be really close bang-bang calls that are hard to make. Every game. It just happens. And at some point, what's really getting tiresome about this conversation is that even those plays are subject to this lens.
You're 100% right.
Like, okay, there's a bad call. We can all see what a bad call is. That's not a bad call. That's a interpretation that's hard.
Yeah, you can't tell.
Yeah, it's anyway. That's one of the things that's just gotten really tedious.
Real quick, when I put my little analytics hat on here too, like you go back to the numbers of this game, and Sam will back me up on this. Like some of these box scores, advanced box scores after the game, the Chiefs have like a 99% win percentage in this game. There were 5 fumbles. You know how many the Chiefs recovered? Yeah. 0. That's 12.5 points the Bills got for just being lucky. Now, again,
2 fourth-down touchdowns in the game, both to the Bills.
If we want to talk about some of the things that fell a certain team's way, like the Bills were close in this one because of some things that they cannot control. The ball is shaped in a weird way, and it bounced toward them. So, again, I can hear more the narrative on this stuff when it's like, okay, this was a game that the Bills just completely dominated, and some things that whatever happened. But, like, this actually was the opposite. The Chiefs dominated this game, and it was close because of some other sort of fluky stuff. They deserve to be in the Super Bowl based off of how the two teams performed on Sunday.
Dropped 3 interceptions, didn't recover any 5 fumbles, gave up 2 fourth-down touchdowns, and still won the game.
Dropped interceptions on the first 2 plays of the game.
First two throws of the game.
First 2 throws, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Then the second throw, I have no idea. Still had Najee Johnson. I mean, Josh Allen could not have thrown it more to him. And by the way, those 3 turnover-worthy plays, as graded by Pro Football Focus, most Josh Allen has had in a game this year.
That's great. I mean, through 6 interceptions all season.
Yeah,
right?
and look, a lot of that is like last year he fell into some bad luck. Like his turnover-worthy percentage suggests he shouldn't have had as many. This year he probably should have had more than the 6. But this is an example of how. I mean, we all remember the 2020 season where Mahomes threw a lot of passes that were dropped by defensive backs. That was the game that Josh Allen had, to where he was fortunate. He fumbles 3 times in the game. He throws 3 interceptable passes and doesn't turn the ball over somehow.
It goes back to that point, because I don't want to give into the narrative like the Chiefs just have this playoff switch to flip on, but like they flipped it on against the Bills. Like they dominated the Bills in that game, and again, the Bills were probably lucky to have as close as it was.
Well, we'll see if they can do that one more time. Listen, only one of us at the table here is a former employee of the Philadelphia Eagles, so
An unpaid internship in the ticket office.
You and Brett Veach. You and Brett Veach.
Yeah, Brett,
wow.
We didn't quite overlap. I'm a little older than Brett. But yeah, I'm glad you pulled that out of your memory chest there.
So we'll just we'll let you sit out any commentary on the Eagles since there's a conflict of
We
interest.
should advertise this podcast as a podcast with an Eagles employee.
But how about just we'll talk in much greater detail about the game next week. But what about the very early thoughts on Chiefs Eagles rematch of Super Bowl 57, in which total coin flip game? I thought Jalen Hurts was incredible. Would have been the MVP if the Chiefs didn't win. But Chiefs are a 1.5 point favorite. Does that seem right?
Yeah, I mean, the Eagles are. I mean, they're the same team in name only. I think. I mean, they do some things similarly. Jalen Hurts hasn't played nearly as good football this year as what he was playing 2 years ago. He seems to have lost his knack for the pocket comparatively, but the Eagles' defense is the reason they're here. Their defense is tremendous. They have the number 1 pass defense in the league despite not generating a ton of pressure. So the cornerbacks they draft really well historically, but they drafted really well this year. They're good everywhere is what really stands out about the Eagles. Like, they're good everywhere. I think a lot of attention is going to be on Jalen Hurts and Saquon Barkley in this game, but the Chiefs' attention should be on just why their pass defense has given up only 174 yards per game all year.
Well,
I mean, I'm with Sam here. Like, we're going to hear a lot. The analytics type will talk about running backs don't matter, and I'm usually in that boat. But I mean, Saquon has mattered. Like, that's a really good back who is turning some runs that other average running backs would have 10 yards, and he's turning them into 80. And so you do have to be worried about the run game. As Sam said, Jalen Hurts has not played as well lately, but going back to that, remember the Super Bowl 2 years ago, coming into that game, he was not playing well going into that game, and then played his ass off in that game against the Chiefs with some of those completions he had. So kind of a weird thing there, but I think the hope you have for the Chiefs, Sam talked about it, like the Eagles have some sticky coverage. They're great on the back end, but like how much schematically can you work around that? I know the Chiefs struggled a little bit against the Texans when they had some sticky corners in there, but that is sort of the hope, is that you still got Patrick Mahomes playing at the level he does in playoffs and Super Bowl, and you still have Andy Reid who can try to pull something else out of the bag of tricks, just like he did last week against the Bills.
The entire recent Super Bowl history, the entire of the Chiefs, and the entire last year of the Chiefs tells us only really that we should expect us to come down in the final 2 minutes, and I assume that favors the Chiefs. But I don't know. At some point, you wonder if they're just that the trap door is just going to fall open, and they're not going to make that just incredible play that nobody should be able to make with all the pressure in the world on you. They might not be able to do that sometime. That's right. So I expect it's going to come down to the end. That's really all. It would not. I think all of us felt this way about the Buffalo game, right? We kind of thought the Chiefs would win, but I think would not have surprised you to see Buffalo win. And I think that's the only way I can look at this game at this point.
Says Vahe through his green-colored glasses.
Mm-hmm. Well, I got the villainous black hat on today.
That's crazy. They never took you off the payroll. That's unbelievable. Wow.
It was a very Costanza-esque role.
All right, great conversation as always, guys. Big thanks to Monty Davis and Randy Mason for producing this podcast. This has been SportsBeat KC, and we'll talk to you again next week.